full-time meeting. You don't, your feedback here.
Thank you all. Rise, please, and say the pledge of allegiance to us again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Jones, roll call, please.
Councilmember Val?
Here.
Councilmember Fisher?
Yes.
Councilmember Michelle?
Present.
Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Cousins?
Here.
And Student Rep Malik? Absent this evening will be Councilmember Knight, Mayor Keough, and Student Representative Colbert.
Thank you. Approve the minutes, please. Somebody need a motion for the June 24th meeting.
I'll move the minutes of June 24th. Regular meeting.
Second, please.
A second.
Okay. All right, any corrections or additions that you would like to?
I have none.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor of approval of the minutes for the 24th of June, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Prearranged participation, we have Dale Fisher. I got an email from him today, or a note from somebody. He will not be here, but he'd like to be on the next agenda. Okay. Okay. And the approval of the agenda, please. And a motion. Bill?
Support.
Smith? Any further discussion on the approval of the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we have no public hearings this evening. Now is the time in the audience for non-arranged participation. You have a period of time if you're an individual for 5 minutes or 10 minutes if you're with a group to represent that group or your opinion on anything. Is there anybody out in the audience that would like to speak this evening on any issues? Seeing none, we'll go on to communications. You're having your packet there in section 8, the upcoming meeting list, the signed calendar, and a letter from DTE. Any discussion about that?
CapDart is actually meeting this Wednesday. We moved it from the 3rd for America.
And made note last meeting that the Planning Commission for tomorrow night was canceled.
Oh,
And I'll make it, the Dexter Chamber of Commerce is not meeting at Red Line anymore. We're meeting at 9 o'clock at the library in the small room there. And it's the 3rd or 4th, depending on when they choose, Monday of the month. Okay, it's generally the 4th.
the fourth Monday.
Fourth
okay.
Monday of the month.
We'll put it there and then.
Okay, that changes. Thank you. Everybody all set with those? All right. Reports. Mr. Slough is with his father-in-law this evening, who's had some illness, and so he will not be here. But Courtney, you want to take over and do anything with him or any of the other staff?
Yeah, I was trying to think if there was any updates. The plant project's been going well. They got through one of the scarier parts of the project, which was good, basically. So it involved some electrical conduit. They had to run through an area with a lot of other conduit, so it was kind of, but it went well. So yeah, they're getting all the machinery has been delivered for the headworks. So they're still hoping for a startup of that within the next couple of weeks. They need to get it tied into so they need to run some underground to tie some main. And then they'll be able to do the startup on that. We've been having the issue with the digester lid and it getting stuck, and it is moving, so that was really good news. It had been empty, so you have to wait till it gets enough sludge in there to start developing biogas, and now the lid is moving as it should, so that was really good. Hopefully that stays that way.
That's equivalent of unplugging and putting it back in.
Basically, yes. They think that maybe it was grit that got into the yeah, basically and so hopefully now, because we're going to be removing a lot more grit, that won't happen again. Yeah, I guess unless there's any other questions, I'm not thinking of anything.
Any updates on the new traffic signals?
No, Kurt's been out. I was out and then he was out, so I haven't followed up with him on that.
Have we-
They have a solution.
Have we found any deer, horseshoe pits, or other animals?
I don't know that they pulled the card recently.
We haven't pulled the card yet.
Okay.
Yeah, we will do that this week though, once.
They were running up, right up Baker, they came from the Christmas tree lot.
Deer?
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
this
There were some at the
last
garden.
week. And just right on up the pavement, like that was their lane. I'm amazed at how they're not fearful at all.
Right. I had a picture of one at the garden and it was just looking at me, we were having a staring contest.
Was
He
he-
did not run away.
was he
No,
eating my beans and all my
He was
cabbages?
not in the garden, he was outside the
And
garden.
the coyote thing, all my neighbors have seen that thing.
Mhm.
So are they gonna come and get it, or what are they gonna do?
I'm not sure. Al had sent that to the DNR, so I can follow up with them and see if they told
Well,
him
it's a
anything.
dangerous looking thing, and it squares off.
Yeah.
Other animals, and,
Oh,
but we're all aware of it.
yeah, I'll ask him about
That's good. The project's going well down there.
that. It is very.
All right, Michelle, you're next.
So how is council this evening?
Short, but we're here.
But, yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the 4th of July holiday. I had a great vacation. Thank you, Mike, for taking care of things while I was gone. Courtney, Justin, Marie. I have a few updates. The 3441 Broad Street, which is the property where the new house is being built next to the former depot. They're going to have to put in a new lateral for the sanitary sewer, and they'll have to connect to the main. And so they got a right-of-way permit, and instead of opening up the road, they're going to be boring and tunneling to make that connection. The permit's been approved. The applicant just has to come in and set their, submit their performance escrow deposits and permit fees. The Avalon project, it's, excuse me, proceeding with their PUD application, but they will not be coming in for combined as we originally thought. They're going to come in for preliminary, and they'll come in for the September meeting instead of the August. They've got some things that they want to work out and really have a solid application. You're going to set a public hearing tonight for the pilot. In August will be the public hearing for the land sale.
Yeah, we still have to set that one. But
Okay.
there will be probably now. I was gonna have it the second meeting in August, so I may make it the first meeting. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that.
Okay. So that's coming too.
It'll be sometime before October 1st.
Okay.
But the hearing, but
The planning commission public hearing. will be-
Planning Commission public hearing will be
Next
September.
I
September,
thought we had one next week.
I don't remember the day. It'll be Tuesday after Memorial Day. So.
For planning commission?
No.
We have,
Oh, no, that's a public meeting just for Avalon abatement action. That's
Got
not
it.
city.
Okay.
Yeah.
there will be the Avalon public hearing July 17th, if I'm not mistaken.
July 16th, but that's not a
16th.
public hearing,
Right.
that's just a public
They're public
informational
forum.
meeting. Yes.
Right. I did notice that there have been things on Friends of Dexter. I talked with Courtney about everything that's going on. It was interesting. I had 2 phone calls today, one in support and one not in support. So, you know, if we just base it on that, it's a level playing field. It's neutral. We have an enforcement situation at 7555 Ann Arbor Street. You may remember that. That's where we had the vehicle. We are again going to court with the homeowner because he's not following up on the notice of violations. In this case, it's we have a structure that's no longer inhabited, junk accumulating in the front porch. Excuse me. But more than that, it's not being maintained, as you can tell by the peeling paint. Just overall blighted look of the house. So we have a court date for June 14th, correct? Michael?
July 29th.
I'm sorry, July 29th. City attorney that handles these with us, Mr. Stringer, will be in court, and Mike will be taking care of this. Excuse me. We got an application to update the signage and logos for Mug and Box. So currently, I believe it shows Sunoco, but they want to change everything so it says Mug and Box on the canopy, on the sign. And so we're working with them. And one of the things that we discovered as we were doing the history of this project is that's a PUD. And we did not have anything that showed that. So there does not appear to be an agreement.
I think it has something to do with them putting in the car wash.
It probably
And
did.
trying to get access and trying to figure out how you could get in it and get out of it safely and so on. I think that's what that was about.
Right. And I don't know how long the car wash actually was used, but it's no longer.
Not very long.
So, so we're in the process of looking at that right now, because to install a new canopy, even if it's the same size, they want it lighted, and that's going to require a photometric plan. So we are working with them. A couple of other updates. The Urban County Executive Committee has drafted a letter to the to HUD in regard to a new rule that they are trying to institute. And it's a rule that would prohibit funding for mixed housing. When I say mixed housing, I'm talking about families that are made up of legal or documented persons versus those that are undocumented. You have some homes and communities where you have mixed, and the new rule would prohibit the mixing. If there's undocumented, then there can be no funding. And so it would literally be breaking up families. And so the Urban County, of which Dexter is a part, is included in this letter asking HUD, making it clear that we don't find that to be acceptable, and hoping that they will reconsider the rule. I don't know that it will have any impact, but that's my understanding is that many of the CDBG organizations countywide are sending in letters. The master plan was sent out for distribution before I left for vacation, so the 63-day clock started that Thursday. No, actually that Friday, because I didn't leave until Friday evening. And so that starts. I did send a letter or a notice out. One of the contacts bounced back in the email, so I sent them out today, but that's not going to extend the time. That's just to make sure that they got it. So 63 days from June 30th, right? June 29th? June 29th. So we'll be looking for, we'll be looking at the October Planning Commission meeting as the public hearing, and then looking at any comments that have come in. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Anybody? Indicated last time that there was a potential sale of the property known as the shopping center. It was going to be up for
As best we can tell, there has been a bid that's been accepted because there's an escrow, but we have no more information than that.
Nobody that we know about? Or?
No, not at this time.
Thank you.
So, okay.
Michelle? Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay, going down, board and commission reports. Anybody need to say anything about that? All right. Courtney, you're next.
I think that Andy actually did tell us he wasn't going to be here today in his last email, and I forgot that, so he did say that he was going to be here. The road commission, I had mentioned that they're starting to prepare for their millage renewal, so we'll be providing them a list of projects, most of which we already have. It's about $90,000, so that's And we've already worked that number into our projection, so it shouldn't be a problem. And Cheryl Siddle was also interested in just meeting with each of the communities that's participating in the millage, and so that might be a good time to talk about potential partnership on something for Dexter Chelsea Island Lake, which Matt McInnell had mentioned to me. The Dexter Harbor Road property purchase follow-up. The Washington County Brownfield Authority is going to pay the $2,000 for the environmental. They have a grant program that they provide to the communities that participate with the brownfield, so I went to their meeting and they approved that with no issue. The earnest money check was deposited. Matt provided a bunch of due diligence documents today, a lot of which I forwarded to ASTI for the phase 1. There was some geotechnical stuff that should be helpful for them. And when they're completing that, they will have that done the Friday before the next meeting, but they will give us a heads up if they have found anything that they have a concern with. That's really about it. I mean, the title work is ordered. It's a pretty simple process. Justin, did you have an update from the ACH on the mural of the beer grotto?
Only that they briefly discussed it. Their thought was that we would try and get a rendering from the owner, but that's assuming that he has an artist or something like that worked out so far. If council has any thoughts or direction.
So we don't necessarily have anything that regulates it because it's on private property as long as it's not a sign, you know, say beer grotto or have beer mugs in it. So if he just does something, Dexter's.
About a map.
He may be willing to.
Chelsea had one on one of their buildings for years, you know,
Yep,
downtown map. You know, and, you know, when you wanted to find something, that was the place to go.
And I would offer that if anyone's been through the high school, they have murals. Every year there's a class where you get a mural. So if he hasn't already contacted I'm not sure the teachers, but I'm sure folks can get them hooked up with that. Some of them are pretty good.
Okay. I did include the merge report for the defined benefit plan. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that, but it was not as bad of an outcome. They do smooth it over 5 years, so even though the market did very poorly in December of 2018, yeah, only going down 1% was good. And then the only other thing was this recollect software, which is pretty cool. It allows you to basically put in an item and then it'll tell you what to do with it, and it's city specific. So it would be useful actually for staff and for the public to be able to go on there and put something in, and then it could say take it to the county home toxics, or you know, put it out on Monday, or so. That's something that we're looking into to potentially incorporate, because it's not really expensive and I think we would get a lot of use out of it, especially in our quest to make our recycle stream cleaner. This way people could actually look up before they just kind of throw something in there to wish cycle it.
But it won't help when your parents visit and they can't keep track between trash and recycling. They
Right.
just picture recycling on it.
And the trash cans will start being delivered tomorrow, so I'll watch for that. They're staging in Whitmore Lake, and then they'll be coming.
Somebody asked me about the colors. Are they still the same?
Same. Yeah, everyone has to get new recycle with the yellow tops, but if you want to leave out your trash bin because it has a lift bar and you think it would qualify, then they can check that out and they won't deliver you a trash if it will work. And then if you have some you want to get rid of, which I'm looking forward to, that'll be the first Monday in August, to get rid of old ones. I can't wait to get rid of all the old ones. All your old cans. Yeah, you can get rid of those too if you don't want to use them for storage. And Central Street will hopefully start Monday. Didn't sign the contract until Wednesday, so we had to push the pre-con back to Thursday.
All right, any questions for Courtney? Seeing none, next is the mayor's report. If Mr. Keogh's not here, you can read his report. Any comments? My comment would be that I was pleased with his comments about the housing in Avalon there. I think it was appropriate. Congratulations for putting it down.
Yeah, he's responded to a few questions
Yeah.
so far.
All right, we're ready for, well, there's an issue in there from Mr. Michelle's. Anybody want to comment on Michelle's report, or just let it go?
I just do want to say that for the valuation, there's a lot of fuzziness with that. For example, the rainbow or kinder care that's now was not completed, so that would go up. Just the general idea. I spent an hour looking at stuff, so just wanted to share some of those.
Thank you. Consent agenda.
I move we approve the 4 items listed on the consent agenda. Bills and payroll in the amount of $498,957.86. The plein air liquor license, setting a public hearing for August 12th for pilot ordinance, and the purchase of an international truck and chassis for an amount not to exceed $175,000.
Second.
Okay, Fisher and Bell, seconds. I have to vote for this. Okay. Ms. Jones, then.
Cousins.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Michelle's.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, item K, old business, we have nothing there. And new business, consideration of the recommendation for Planning Commission to approve the planned unit development preliminary site plan for the Millennium Place located at 7956/7960 Grand Street. Michelle.
Okay, so you're familiar with this application. The Planning Commission did consider this and held a public hearing on June 3rd, and they, after presentations by staff, the applicant, our consultants, they made the following recommendations of approval with these conditions. A determination that the density as proposed is acceptable, determination that parking as proposed is acceptable, determination that the long-term protection and preservation of the natural resources as proposed is acceptable, determination that open space as proposed is acceptable, determination that utilities as proposed are acceptable provided that the applicant, 1, demonstrates infiltration of the soils on site, and 2, removes and replaces the existing water and sanitary sewer lines on his property and the adjacent property to the south. Footnote for that, the current lead to the main for both water and sewer are shared by both properties, so you've got a Y. And so the disconnection of the subject site would automatically disconnect the other one. So that's why that condition was placed. Condition 6 was the determination that for the public alley, the applicant must provide an 18-foot wide gravel surface from the western edge of his property along the rear alley to Baker Road. In other words, that concrete approach that serves the that house on Baker off the alley. Determination that the deviation of yard setbacks and height requirements as proposed are acceptable. A determination that the recognizable and material benefits as proposed and further based on the determination by the Planning Commission are acceptable. They also included the Carlisle-Wortman review, the OHM review, DAF review, excuse me. So tonight you're asked to, in your packet, you have the plan that the Planning Commission looked at. You have a revised narrative from the applicant addressing those conditions that Planning Commission established, and he is accepting those conditions. You have his application, his plan, the elevations and floor plans. You also have the review letters from Carlisle, Wortman, OHM, DAFD, as well as staff. And so tonight you're asked to accept, you're provided with motions, but primarily you're asked to accept the Planning Commission's recommendation for approval with the conditions that they established. And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. The applicant is also here and is prepared to address any questions or comments and make a statement if you'd like.
What page is the new narrative on?
And just a second.
125, it looks like.
Yes, 125, dated June 11th.
Thank you.
Hey, Michelle, Jack and your crew there, if you would like to take a few moments to share with us what you want to do here, we'd be glad to hear you. If you're spending money bringing these people in, you might as well use them, okay?
Thanks, Paul. I never pass up an opportunity to go with my big mouth.
Well, you got it, buddy.
I'm Jack Campbell. I'm one of the members of Marfa Campbell Development Company that proposes Millennium Place located on Grand Street. I think if you look at the June 2019 letter that was written to this council, it pretty much explains the project. Michelle went over it. You have all the reports from Carlisle Wortman, OHM, related to this project, also the DFT report. I brought with me Kathy Kyneth from Macon Engineering, Kevin Rosenberg from Jeffrey Scott Architect, and Madison Campbell, and she is related to me. Madison will come up and just share a few words. And we've talked about millenniums and what millenniums want in the future. Of course, this is a Samsung ad that is kind of self-serving, but it says 74% of all millennials plan to buy a home in the next 5 years. So when we looked at developing a condominium project, we looked at what's been approved, what's going up, and we want to design something that was different and hopefully more affordable. But without anything else to say, I'll introduce my daughter.
Hello, I will be going over some highlights from the June 2019 letter with attachment addressed to the City of Dexter. Marfa Campbell Development Company LLC requests rezoning of the subject property to permit a planned unit development in order to permit flexibility in the design standards to support a development that can provide a variety of alternative housing options for buyers looking to move within the city limits. The proposed design of Millennium Place will offer both townhouse and multiplex style accommodations. The subject property's future land use designation per the master plan is multiple family residential, and the proposed design is very much in line with anticipated uses of this category, which include townhouses and 2 to 3 story apartments. To achieve the city's goals of infill development with a more urban density as outlined in the City of Dexter's master plan, a PUD is necessary. The city's adjacent Maker Road corridor mixed-use district encourages 1, upgrading the surrounding area, 2, increasing public transit opportunity, and 3, developing residential infill. However, the densities permitted for multiple family housing for the zoning district VR support suburban densities rather than urban densities implied in the master plan. A straight rezoning also fails to achieve the desired densities, making a PUD the best option for developing Millennium Place. And then I will briefly go over some of the public benefit summaries, which include increasing in population for more economic stability for Dexter businesses, improving surrounding property values, facilitating additional redevelopment, improving the public alley with gravel to 18-foot width, improving access to sanitary sewer through manhole in the alley, adding additional parking along Grand Street, improving streetscape along Grand Street, and achieving of the master plan goals and objectives. Any questions the council may have on this matter may be responded to by the appropriate Marfa Campbell team member. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, council, we have before us the issues. You see there on page 112, one of the motions that we approve it or deny it. And then if that's not appropriate there, somebody can make a motion that goes there on page 113 of postponing it to another date. So I'm waiting for a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Thank
If I
you.
can scroll down to get to it again.
Okay.
Did you say 113?
112, right in the middle of the suggested motion.
Can I do it saying that on page 12?
Right. As long as you want to
Got it.
approve or deny.
Yeah, thank you. Based on the yes. Based on the recommendation of the commission and information provided by the applicant, staff, CWA, OHM, and DAFD, and reflected in the minutes of this meeting, the city council moves to approve AP 2018-1908 PUD as PSRP Millennium Place preliminary site plan dated April 15th, 2019, in accordance with the requirements of the article. Do I need to read all
No,
these?
Michelle already read them all.
All right, I thought
to approve.
I remember you saying DAF and thinking, where's the D?
Motion to approve as presented in the packet.
Very good. Thank you.
May I have a second, please?
A second.
Okay, Bill?
Thank you.
And council will see this again at final, I'm sure.
Right. That was, okay. Discussion. Jim, you're
I'm going to ask a
planning
question
commission.
of the group here. At the planning commission, I asked if you would consider possibly a different name for it. Because whenever I hear that, I tend to think of something like a 16-story structure in Ann Arbor. I don't, that type of name I don't associate, as a typical building for in Dexter. And that's, I was wondering if you'd given any thought to looking at a different name for it.
We would consider another name. Naming this building wasn't an exact science. Myself and another person who works for me sat around, tossed around some names. I thought of Grand Plaza as one, but we've got Grandview Commons, so we didn't want to duplicate that. So we needed to come up with a name so that when we talked about Millennium Place, it was self-describing, and we didn't have to go through, oh, it's the place on Grand Street, no, it's not this, it's over here. So we would definitely consider that, and if either the planning commission or this body would like to make some recommendations, we could certainly do that. We could call it Smith Place. But we would definitely look at that. I think tonight to move this thing along, we're asking for approval. Are there any other questions while I'm here? Yes.
I will
Sir.
first, I'll say that this is the type of project I think ought to be a by right project without the PUD. That being said, I've asked this for everyone, Grandview and Jeffords, recognizable and substantial benefits. Because it has to be a PUD, there has to be some nexus between the deviations you're asking for and the added benefit that causes. You do have a list in here. I think it's framed a little bit differently, just this. Would you be, I guess, I'll break it down. What are the deviations that you have asked that are necessary for this project to exist?
We're asking for greater density. I think that's the biggest one.
And is the parking, but you meet all the setbacks and the height?
We meet the, we meet, I'd have to defer to
Side
Michelle
yard
on that.
setback and a deviation on height. Because it's 3 stories, but it doesn't go over 35 feet.
Right.
Because in the ordinance it says 2.5, I think it's 2.5 stories or 35 feet. And this is 3 stories, not over 35 feet, so.
Okay, so at the 9 units per acre density, this project isn't feasible?
Correct.
And
if I remember right, that based on the current zoning classification for the schedule of regulations on the site that he's proposing to develop, he'd get 3 units. Or some, it was just some really low number.
I'm trying to find, can you refresh me the price ranges?
We've not given the price range. I'll tell you what, Zach, the way the prices are today, if I get a bid this week, it may be different next week. So at this stage of the game, to say it's going to be X, when it might be Y, I don't know, but we will be more than competitive.
So, I don't want to peg you, but to a number, would it be fair to say likely less than the other current developments because of the density you're asking for?
Yes.
Okay.
We want to create a different product.
Yeah, which I think is one of the things that should have been outlined in the recognizable and substantial benefit, is that this is a type of thing that doesn't really exist here. I do have a question for staff, but I'll wait until after other folks here are done.
Any other comments? Jim, anything else? Scott? No? I guess you're still up there, Zach.
All right.
Thank you.
The proposed parking along Grand is going to generally be consistent with what OHM did.
Yes.
Generally, there's going to be a shift because of the driveway and
Correct.
I saw a couple.
It'll be
of bump outs.
perpendicular as opposed to parallel.
Well, I think they got them called for. Anyways, that is not going to be reserved just for residents here, correct?
It's public parking.
All right. I'm good, thanks.
You're good, you say?
Well, as good as I can be.
Okay. Any further comments from anyone? Okay, a motion's been made by Fisher, seconded by Bell. Ms. Jones, please call the roll.
Fisher.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Michelle's.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Cousins.
Yes. Thank you. Next item is the bid for the item number 2, consideration of bid award for contract for pedestrian safety project. Courtney?
So, as council is aware, we did accept the bids today. We did get 3, which was good. We had a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting last week. 2 of the contractors attended. So, the lowest bid was from Doan Construction, which was good because that's somebody that we've used. They're very common in the area, so we didn't have to worry about references on that. We've had them here and certainly all around us. For right now, what I'd like to do is get them started on the Forest Street sidewalks. I think that's the longer, more, so that's gonna take the longest part of the project. That would be the $234,000, so that they can get started on that. I'd like to meet with the sheriff and just kind of go over with them. Technically, when we're setting the school crossings, they need to be looped in on that. So I'd like to meet with them and then make a recommendation on the category 2 work at the July 22nd meeting. I don't think that should be an issue with getting it done. But this way they can get started. And Doan was the lowest bidder on both categories, so if we only do one, it doesn't affect the bid award.
I move we accept the bid from Doan for the category 1 work and an amount not to exceed $234,000.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Smith, seconded by Schultz. Any comments? Seeing none, Ms. Jones, please call the roll.
Smith.
Yes.
Michelle's.
Yes.
Fisher.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Cousins.
Yes.
And this was part of the 1961 plan from the Chamber of
Yes, right,
Commerce.
the Chamber of Commerce. We have more sidewalks in front of home. What he's referring to that, Ms. Jones gave us this a long period of time ago. It was a projects for Dexter put out by the Dexter Chamber of Commerce around 1960 or 61. And one of the things that they have, there was a number of those, but one of the things is that we have, let's see if I can find exactly where it says, why not sidewalks in front of all village residents? Okay, we're only 60 years behind. Another one was more parking in Dexter, more street lights, and possibilities of opening a theater, which I told this to Dan Cooney, and I said, you've succeeded. You've done well.
Walking them off boards. Better late than never.
That's right. All right, next item is consideration of services for the OHM for construction of Central Street project, for the amount of not more to exceed $154,900.
So moved.
Zach? Okay, whoever it was Zach first?
Zach was first, but Zach was
Okay.
I think I heard Scott.
So this will be for the construction engineering, et cetera, as outlined in the memo for the Central Street project, which we hope will start Monday. Our pre-construction meeting is Thursday. It looks like you guys were out doing some staking, some survey staking. You can see the pink marks on Central and Main Street where they're going to put signage. Letters have been sent to the residents, so we're pretty much ready to go. We just need to get that pre-con over with. These projects take a little bit more work because of MDOT regulations, so there's a lot more paperwork and things to keep up on than kind of our general projects, which can escalate the cost somewhat. And then there's also a chunk for materials testing that OHM will handle through a third party.
We also, as part of this, we just put a note in there acknowledging that we had agreed that OHM would cover the cost of the repair on Central Street by the mill. So we just want to just make it known again that that's still our plan, and we would cover this or help pay for that cost, or pay the cost of the actual construction and oversight of that. And
all right.
Just, Courtney mentioned that the plan is to basically have them begin work next week. It was really supposed to be today, but because of the contract for some reason not being executed, it got delayed. And really, the bulk of that work should be done by Labor Day. There's going to be some things lingering. I think the lights will they'll probably have the conduits in, but the poles tend to have a little bit of a lead time on those because those have to be manufactured and shipped in from, I forget where they come from, but it's not local. So
Not China.
Not China. There is a Buy American Steel and Aluminum on this contract. Any federal project has that requirement, so these ones will be within the United States for sure. So.
Thank you. Any further questions for Zach? Excuse me.
Bless you.
No, then, it's just water. It's water.
It's just smaller.
All right, Ms. Jones, please call the roll.
Fisher.
Yes.
Michelle's.
Yes.
Cousins.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Thank you. Last one is consideration of a meeting with fire station consultant Ken Newell.
Start with the easy one, that we have a virtual meeting July 25th. And then we can have a discussion on the other one later.
Second.
All right, moved by Michelle. Seconded by Smith. All right, that's on July 20th, that's a Wednesday, is that correct?
I think it's a Thursday.
Thursday, okay. Okay, discussion.
We got the room.
Well, we probably have to do it at OHM, honestly, because we can't take that kind of technology anywhere in the city. I mean, to do a virtual meeting with a guy out of state, I feel like we probably need to use the conference room. You know, we can still post it as a work session.
It could be good.
Patrick back there shaking his head up and down.
Get thumbs up.
Do you have a time that you want to do that?
I'm looking on the calendar.
I don't know if Sean will be able to attend. I have something I could potentially do.
I think I'm.
I guess depending on the topic.
But I'm gonna look.
Yeah, Tuesday.
So
She had 2 kids with her.
Camp, we got some cross.
I got one this week, I'm getting 2 more. 25th?
Zach, while we're talking about date, do you have a topic that you would have him speak on?
A light version of a foundation to build upon, getting the right start to your fire station design. And what was another one he had? The how to save money. I can't find what he.
How to build for less?
Yes, that one.
It's page 156.
I will not be here on the 25th. I can do it on the 29th, or the 30th, and you can meet without me if you'd like. I'm not going to raise the cost. I just know that.
Seeing we're not going to tie it into the town hall meeting. Yeah. Then I guess the 29th would be acceptable for me anyways, as far as scheduling.
That's the 5th Monday of the
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are generally good because no one schedules anything specifically for the 5th Monday. I'm going to look back.
So you're okay with that one? 29th. 29th? Now will you be back?
Yes.
So you want to change your motion to the 29th?
I do.
I'll support that.
Scott?
Do you know the cost? Just charging an hourly rate, or was it?
Yeah, it's going to be whatever the hourly he said in here.
Yeah, I mean, they will be obviously less than coming here.
It'll be less than 6 full core sheets.
Right.
Because he's already got the slideshows,
Yeah.
And he said it would be 2 hours. I don't know if that's in this stuff, but he assumed it would be 2 hours. So do you have a time that you, like 6 to 8 or 5:30, can we, what time it might work?
Let's do it at 6.
6 to
It's
8?
out for some
Does
time.
time affect you, Scott?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or 6?
6 to 8. That's fine.
Scott's good.
The only thing I would request is that staff trial the technology before we sit down.
Yeah. I think that's,
Yeah. Yeah, we'll wait.
So we don't spend the first 20 minutes trying to figure out how to make the thing
Yeah,
work.
It's a good
no,
point.
we will definitely do that.
Can we ask
Patrick's right there, so.
Patrick, can we,
You're
have you
tuned
done this
into that,
before
right?
in that space where we had a virtual conference over
Yeah, we
there?
do it all the time.
Do it all the
I was
time?
on it earlier, so.
That's,
He asked in his, Mr. Newell asked in his email for me to tell him what the technology would be, so I just hadn't done that yet, but I will, and we can even have him maybe try it on a day when you or Chris are there.
I'll be
Before.
right now for 6 to 8.
Yeah, thank you, I appreciate that, because I don't know where else we could really effectively do that.
all right, any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, Ms. Jones?
Val?
Yes.
Cousins?
Yes.
Michelle?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Fisher?
Yes.
We're now down to item M with council comments, starting with Mr. Michelle.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
so
excuse me.
Zach, I'm gonna tell him to do the, how, like maybe a little bit of how to build for less. And,
A foundation to build upon.
the foundation, okay. So some sort of hybrid of the two.
Did we want to discuss the community meeting before we moved on?
Well, I'll put together what we have and send it out sometime like by the end of this week, so we can see if we think we need anything more, but I think we have what we would need, and then we can give some thought to format, but I'm thinking that it's more focused on the options that you guys consider to be on the table and the cost and how we would fund it, then I think that would, and then we can, take questions. But I think as far as putting information on to people, it's just gonna be mostly, I would think, more conversational and questions and not necessarily a PowerPoint of stuff.
I think this fits here, but I think maybe it does. Have we ever taken a poll of our employees in terms of what they think should be office for them, given that they're the ones that are going to sit there and they have a little better view of what goes on in the office than I do? Have we ever offered them an opportunity to do that?
Really the only strong opinion as far as any location was Michelle and wanting to be downtown as opposed to like out at Mav. I don't know that staff's really anti any particular city office location, unless you guys.
Do you have a favorite that you would like to have?
I personally think being involved in 3045 Broad would be good because the city purchased it.
I think I've relayed this story before. Early on, when we were just starting to look at redevelopment opportunities for 3045 Broad, Justin had said to me, maybe that should be considered for city offices.
I think I remember that.
And I completely poo-pooed it. I'm just like, I raved, I was great about it.
Michelle does that.
I do that. Not often, but then I think I was at a planning conference and I had this light bulb moment and Justin's words were, just reverberating in my head and I'm like,
Blathering.
Yeah.
Were you blathering?
What it did is, what I realized is that the city offices are an anchor in downtown. You've heard me say that before. And you want to expand your downtown, but you don't often get the opportunity to help activate the space to make that happen. Putting the offices at 3045 Broad or as part of that development in some way helps to activate that space. You've now taken people who normally are on Main Street and you're channeling them to come to that area where you want to expand. So if I had to make a choice, I'd say 3045 Broad over 8140 Main Street for that reason. You're helping to activate the space and you're helping to implement that plan you worked so very hard to bring to fruition. So that's what I would say.
I can say too.
Yes.
Okay. So in my opinion, I'm not really as concerned as where it is that property doesn't continue to come off the roll is a concern of mine. So I would rather have it in a location that is already owned by the city or, well, it's already owned by the city, it's already off the roll. Mm-hmm. But I also, I think it's very important that we not forget that we needed new space 5 years ago. We're not, well, but everybody talks about the needs of the fire department and what their needs are and how everything's so outdated and how it needs to be modern. Well, we're not in a modern office. We don't have the security that we need to do our jobs properly. We don't have
the technology, obviously, since we have to have a meeting at
exactly. So whatever happens, I'm reluctant to get into the discussion or would not get into a discussion where whatever we do at the city office is going to happen in 5 years or 10 years down the road. Because the need is very real. So I'm not as concerned about where as I am about when.
So the guy that has an office that's about the size of a phone booth, you want to say something, Mike?
I don't have much to add. I think anywhere that provides more space would be great. And just to piggyback off what Michelle said, and just having been here for about a year, I do appreciate the value of the downtown location as an anchoring, as the city office is there as an anchoring
rather than
space.
out at the outside.
And I see the value in that, and also from just anecdotally, it does feel like we are more accessible to residents, but I don't have a strong opinion.
Well, I would have poo-pooed the whole people coming to the office a lot because probably back when we were a village there was less, but now with taxes twice a year plus elections and the utility bills and the other things people do, there is quite a bit of traffic, more so than we had in the village, I will say that for sure. Justin, we know what you want, so.
Well, I would echo both Michelle's and Marie's comments that it would be nice to maintain the downtown location, a downtown location, but also to Marie's point, the construction of the fire station is not going to be an overnight process. And while that's going on, staff will continue to be in the current city office. My other concern would be that we end up spending more on the fire station than planned, and the city office gets what's left over.
Well, that varied a little bit from Mr. Michelle's comments here, but
Well, I have a follow-up question. Have we heard definitively that the sheriff's department wants to go along and be attached?
They haven't definitively said. I mean, I think that they would prefer to stay downtown, at least from Lisa King's perspective. That was why we were thinking, if, the potentially 11,000 square feet in 3045 Broad would allow us to have both the city office and sheriff still in the downtown area. It doesn't necessarily have to go to MAV. I don't know that they would, they have to go where we provide them.
They don't have to. Well, she did say that to me, but I've never heard it from anybody else.
Yeah,
the previous didn't say that.
Right. I mean, she's kind of been the more recent representative of their thoughts. So.
Well, which, I don't tell you why she told me, but downtown is where she wants to be. She thinks it's most effective there. Well, thank you.
Could staff check with, it's the city of Royal Oak. They recently went through a process where they're going to do a new city hall and mixed-use development. And it was going to be a similar thing where it was going to be part of the building. And I remember speaking with Charlene Douglas, a planner, and their folks that they had a lot of concerns with how the condo documents were set up, because if you own less than 50% of the square footage, you're bound by the other folks. So it'd be good to get their experience on what their concerns were and how they looked that out.
Did they actually do it?
I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it.
Okay.
Char's in England right now, watching Wimbledon, so I'll be sure I call her when she gets back.
They're still in their current city hall. And it's scheduled to be demolished next year. And then they'll move into that building, I believe.
Okay. Mr. Bell, you're next.
Sorry I missed the work session. Some travel delays and
I would say, yeah.
and some work trouble. Apologize.
Thank you. Anything else for you now? Jim?
I would just say to staff, I hope you are encouraged by our discussion during the work session about trying to fund not just the fire station, but city offices and possible DPW additions. So, we do care about you. You're not being ignored. Just, fire's a little more controversial topic, so you hear more about that, but we do plan to take care of.
Ms. Jones, I skipped over, I apologize.
That's okay, I don't have much to say anymore.
Isabel, anything this evening? This is our next time for the audience to have any comments. Item N is non-arranged participation. Anybody in the audience like to speak to the council tonight? 10 minutes if you're a group, or 5 minutes if you're an individual. Seeing none, I'll take motion for adjournment.
So moved.
You're adjourned.
They got voted.
April 3.
Did you call your voice